when I first started to get into the business, advertising for me was about being like a commercial artist, and it was about making commercials and right digital ads. And it was like I'd wanted to be an artist growing up, and I was, my parents were like, that's not going to pay the bills. Like you could be a starving artist in Manhattan. I grew up a Long Island kid, but like, the spigot's being, turned off and you're going to have to do this on your own. And I was like, can I be a starving artist, in New York? And it was like, well, the answer was no. And so I sort of did the next best thing, which by the way, everyone in the industry had done back then, which was like you went into advertising if you wanted to be some level of artist, right? We called it sort of being a commercial artist, where you could use some of that brain and some of that creativity and some of the things that stimulated your soul and get paid somewhat to do it. And so the industry back then was populated, and still is, with writers and artists and social commenters and photographers and right, like all of these amazingly creative folk trying to then sell sort of a service, their subject matter expertise through the selling of soda and cars and pharmaceuticals and, fill in the blank. The industry changed in the 20 some odd years that I've been in it, where we moved from just being commercial artists to what I would argue are mad scientists, which is there's a much more structured approach to our discipline, and in a very good way, where you develop hypotheses, you test them, you validate them, and then you optimize them. So there's a rigor and a discipline that has been created that I think is really wonderful, because it's still the alchemy of artistry and creativity, but now with sort of the discipline and rigor and approach of a scientist, which makes the industry sort of really interesting. And that's in part going back to Eric, what you do, right? Which is finance, CFO comes and is like, why are you spending all of this money on X? You got to justify it. There's an accountability that exists now that didn't exist 25 years ago. Some of that, a lot of that is based on digital advertising and attribution models, et cetera. And then some of that is the answering of the AI question, which is like, why do we need all of this infrastructure? Why can't I, to your point, just plug in Claude, ask Claude to develop a marketing plan or, 27 pieces of content and hope that it ultimately resonates with consumers to drive that transaction or that purchase?
That's really good. There's a lot of pieces to touch on right there. Number one, loved how you compared it to science and experimenting, because that's, if we think of all of the campaigns that have really blown up, it's trying something new. And it's the same thing, whether we're talking about, cures for diseases or vaccines or whatever, scientists in the lab creating something that's groundbreaking. It comes from experimenting and being grandiose, putting a couple things together that no one would expect. I mean, think of like chocolate, like someone grabbed a cacao plant from a tree and was like, oh, there's some fruit on there. Okay, let's leave it out in the sun, let it marinate for a little bit, and then let's peel it and let's crush it and let's throw some sugar in it. And now you got chocolate. And it's like, that's next. And tomato, ketchup with tomatoes. It's like, let's just put some sugar in it, and it's one of the most addictive things on the planet is ketchup. Like, kids can't get enough of it. Adults too. But my point is, that's so true. And it's such an interesting fact to say that AI is going to be able to create these new things. And I believe ultimately it will down the road. I don't think we're there yet, but it's like knowing what has worked, having the know how to take some risks. I don't think that AI quite has a hold on balancing the two.